Okay, so I decided to do my ethics video on chapter 23. It talks about web producers, and web producers are people who work for newspapers and keep their sites up to date, and then help determine which stories are important enough to be included on the homepage. Stacy Rodriguez was a web producer at the Florida Journal, and the names and everything has been changed to protect the identity of the people. She had some control over what appeared on the homepage and how the stories were arranged, but one of the editors always watched over the site and had the final say-so in news judgments. If the editor wasn't there, the online producer would make their own judgment about the story. Pardon me. But it could be changed whenever the editor got back. At the time, there wasn't a set of guidelines at the journal for making decisions about prominence of specific stories, and it was more subjective, like someone's opinion. Since there was nothing to work on, the editor's job was to manage the breaking news, and they would dispatch reporters to locations of breaking stories and edit breaking news stories to put on the internet. After uploading and placing stories, web producers often check other news sites, seeing how they compare and what kind of news they're posting as well. So at the time, the journal's webpage was set up for one large story, and then that would go at the top, and then 2 or 3 small feature stories below. And this was pretty common for many regional and national news websites during that time. It was February 2008. Rodriguez was managing stories for the site, and the big story that was mostly covering all newspapers was the unfolding Democrat and Republican primaries. But also there was severe weather that was threatening the South and Midwest that would spawn deadly tornadoes later, so that was pretty important to keep on there. And then there was a news story about a celebrity that had been spotted locally, and celebrity news had big draws on the journal's website, so that one was added to the homepage as well. When she was scanning other news websites, she came across BBC's news, and they had a headline that was CIA admits to waterboarding inmates, and that to her was something that was really important that she thought needed to go on their website as well. So she ended up going to her supervising editor and asking him about it. She figured with their close location to Guantanamo Bay, she believed that story had a regional angle and that it was something that definitely should be in their paper. So whenever she took it to him or her, he or she looked at her and said, hasn't the U.S. already admitted to waterboarding inmates before? So she ended up going to a reporter that they had working for their newspaper who was covering U.S. activities in Guantanamo Bay. When Rodriguez asked the woman, isn't this significant? She responded by saying, yes, this is a very big deal. So that kind of confirmed that the story was super important and that it should be on the homepage. So she went back to the editor and passed on what she had learned. She suggested that they substitute the waterboarding story for the celebrity story because the other 2 were pretty important to keep on there. And the celebrity story, just the only pro of it was the draws it had to the website. So, and that was the reason that the editor gave pretty much for when he disagreed with her and didn't want to put it on the homepage. Rodriguez was surprised and frustrated by the editor's position. She didn't understand why they were valuing the traffic over the integrity of the larger news story. And the news story about CIA waterboarding their inmates was never put up, and she kind of views that as a missed opportunity for the newspaper. So how this story made me more ethical, I think I would have done the same thing Rodriguez did. If I was her editor, I probably would have posted it because I think that's something that's a little bit more important than celebrity. It's national news, and otherwise people aren't going to go looking for it. The people who go and click on celebrity gossip and stuff aren't looking and clicking on stuff like that, but it doesn't mean that they shouldn't be made aware of it, because I think it's a more important issue. So I think that it would just make me either push for that story to be uploaded more, or it would make me want to go to a newspaper or an employer that would allow me to post that if I was the journalist.